Oh, you damn right. It's always good news and bad news in the middle of the week. The bad news is Jeff Ketchum's trying to be the boss. Tax stuff getting ready. You know how it is. It's that time of year. Everybody's trying to get their tax things lined up. Ketch is taking care of that. I'm Chad Hastings. And the good news is Anwar Richardson of orangebloods.com. He is not considering it the good news right now, but he's a good enough human that he's helping me out. And I appreciate that, Anwar. I want you to know I see you helping me and I appreciate it.
I mean, look, it's every week. It's once a week. All right. Let's just be honest. Chad, I see you being diplomatic over here. I get it. You don't want to say anything, but look, let's just be honest. Jeff's going to do 4 shows out of the week. And at one point, you're going to need either me or Jason to fill in. And so, as we always try to do, you could say it's always taxes, it's sickness, it's taxing is sickness. Just say Anwar is here for his weekly fill-in.
Yes.
And let's just go from there. I am here for my weekly spot.
Anwar is here to make the show look that much more handsome as he does each and every week.
Say that Anwar is here because Jeff is only going to be here for 4 days out of the week. Let's just you can't say it, Chad. You can say it. I promise you won't get a tax deduction if you say it. Say it. You'll feel good. You'll feel better about it. It's okay.
Anwar is here because Ketch is missing his 1 show per week. There you go.
Therapeutic. It felt therapeutic, didn't it?
It really did. I could feel the weight.
Yes.
I could feel it. Okay.
Because here's the thing. It's sometimes it's about acceptance, Chad. And when you learn how to accept things in life, it becomes easier. Yes. But if you're like, oh, these things, no, you just got to know, accept it, Chad. This is what it is. Here we are. And there's no Brian Jones on today. I'm so sorry, guys.
No Brian Jones today. No. We'll see if we can grab Brian tomorrow and recap championship game and all that good stuff. It says, love HD with Chad and Anwar and a hook 'em emoji. Thank you, Cotton. We appreciate it. Obviously, Anwar does incredible work at orangebloods.com and Orange Bloods Live, and you see him on the old fashioned. And he does take some time for us here on House Divided when Jeff Ketchum misses those days. We appreciate that. And today is a nice round number, Anwar. I think I got to double check Ketch's counter because this week he's been talking about like 230 days till kick. By my count, it's 220 today. As we talk on this Wednesday, y'all double check me on the math, but my math told me 220 until Arch and the Longhorns go to Columbus, Ohio. So y'all can double check me on that number, but I thought today, and this is one of those where this is not the last time, might not even be the first time. But it is a discussion that we're going to have for 220 days plus.
220, by the way. 220.
220. There you go. 220.
That's what Google says.
We're right on. What was the line from Mr. Mom? Is it 220, 221, whatever it takes? Yeah, whatever it takes. 220 until Arch officially starts a game as the Longhorn quarterback. No doubt about it. Not backing up anybody. And Anwar, I just thought it'd be a great thing to dig into today. It's something somebody had sent us a super chat earlier in the week about Sark and his quarterback whispering ability, whatever ability that is, and the discussion that kind of comes up now. Whatever the 3-man weave was, where he was trying to work the Quinn Ewers part of it over here, deal with the Manning part of it over here. That's all done, and this is about number 16. And how do you get the best out of number 16? So I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it today. You get to watch this team as close or closer than anybody. So you've gotten a good sense of what Sark is, maybe what he isn't. What are the deficiencies? What are the strengths and all that stuff? And obviously you got the great look at Arch in some time this year. I think it's 10 games technically that he appeared in. So
interesting.
So I want to get, that's kind of the overall discussion I want to have today. That's why I threw in the molding of the clay, because I don't think there's anything more fascinating in college football than Sark trying to dial up Arch Manning it happens to be the story we get to tell, but I don't think anybody in college football this year will tell a more interesting story than that.
Yeah, I mean, it will be the story of the offseason. I mean, it was story of kind of half of last season, if not a little bit more, when people were wanting to see more of Arch and seeing, and debating whether he should play more or not, or things to that effect. But it becomes a thing that, Chad, that of everything that Steve Sarkisian has been defined by, the success of Arch Manning will be the ultimate thing that he is defined by in his career. Anything prior to this season, next 2 years, it'll matter, but it won't matter. This will be kind of the defining moment of, okay, what do you do with Arch Manning? Because there will be a certain set of pressure that's placed upon him, Chad, because there's a contingent of people who feel that Arch will be a huge upgrade over Quinn. I think, and I don't know what that percentage is. I don't know what that number is, but people are expecting Arch to be the next Manning. Great. And so because they expect him to be the next great Manning in that line, in that legacy, that what he does and how he gets Arch prepared for this upcoming season will be paramount. It would be again, Chad, can't think of anything that he would be judged by more, because look, all eyes will be on him when it comes to Arch. All eyes will be on Texas when it comes to Arch this season. People ain't going to think about the Atlanta Falcons, Chad. People are not going to be thinking about what happened when he was in the NFL. They're not going to really think about the Alabama days. That's still kind of Nick Saban's thing, right? The Washington days were kind of cool, so on and so forth. Like, it's cool, but we talk about you being the head coach of the guy. Whatever Quinn was as the number one overall prospect, everyone expects Arch to quadruple that, to pass that, surpass that. So, you asked me about the season, and I won't talk for too long, but you asked me about this season. And we saw certain things, but we only really got the chance. We saw Arch really excel in 2 games. It was UTSA when he came in after Quinn was hurt, and then we saw him in Mississippi State. But we saw him look like somewhat of a human being versus La Monroe. I mean, that happened, and I can't ignore that. It's not to say you don't think he's going to be good. That's to say you don't think he won't be great. But will Arch be a human? Will he be a quarterback that makes mistakes? And Chad, I don't think the majority of people have it even calibrated in their mind that he actually might be a human quarterback who's actually going to have to go through a couple little growing pains before he achieves this height. I don't think anybody even thinks this guy's might throw an interception. He might throw 2 in a game. So my thing is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, but my thing is, Chad, I'm approaching this season with the thought process that he's going to grow, it's going to get better, but I still think of it as going to be a little bit of up in Canada. Man, stay warm up there. I just think of it as a year where there's going to be some growing and developing to do, Chad, and I'll get into the layers of it, but we still saw Arch for whatever it's worth, even with that Manning package thing. How many times did the ball hit the ground? I mean, it seemed quite often. Even the last time he touched the ball in that last game, the ball was still coming out, right? It came out. So, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean he's not going to be really good, but it's to say I'm going to place realistic expectations on him as a quarterback, as opposed to looking to him as somewhat of the savior of the program that leads Texas to a national championship in the 2025-26 season.
If you guys want to jump in on the chat, feel free. Jay has already sent us a super chat, so we'll show you that right away. If you want to throw us a super chat, we thank you for the donation to the tip jar, and it'll go right to the top of the list. This is a 5 spot from Jay. Jay, thank you so much. I love the picture of that dog, by the way. We expected 5-star play from Quinn, but rarely got it. Nobody expects anything more of Arch than him to play and develop like his 5-star ranking too. That's it. No more, no less. I like this one, Anwar, because it brings up a
Good
simple kind of. I think here's the switch we're about to
Good
see.
one.
I think Texas fans, a group of them, not speaking for every fan, but a lot of Texas fans are about to go from when the offense walks off the field after a 3-and-out or they've got a punt, the drive is not ending in a score. The fans are about to go from blaming number 3 to blaming the head coach. There are some that have thought, well, come on, isn't Arch going to get the same? I don't think so. I think Texas fans are going to embrace Arch in a way that they did a Ricky, a Vince, a Colt, where he's their guy and there's not anybody else they want out there. So therefore, if it goes wrong, can't be your guy. It's got to be something else. And you'll immediately go to, well, who called the play? Who's training him each and every day? Who's developing him during the week? All of those things. I think that's the switch that we're about to see. Now, look, if for some reason Arch Manning just ends up being really bad, like out of nowhere, then I guess eventually there's a point where you go, well, the kid just may not be good. But I think that's what we're about to see. And that's why I structured the title and the setup of the show today. It's about Sark dealing with Arch for me, because I think that's where Texas fans are going to focus on. Okay, Sark, here he is. This is the guy. You got to turn him into what he's supposed to be.
And that's where I am concerned about this year, and I'm concerned for Arch. And look, I preface everything by saying, as of today, right? So it's January 22nd, 12:14 p.m. where we're having the show. But my concern becomes the expectations of Arch and how realistic should it be, right? Because that's the thing that killed Quinn ultimately in the eyes of the fans. It's almost what Jay Lee kind of said. Quinn was put on such a pedestal that because he didn't meet what the rankings were, instead of people blaming the people who did the rankings, by the way, which never happened, by the way, Chad, that you never heard any of the people come out and say, you know what, maybe we just did too much in the rankings, right? It's always just blame the player as opposed to the people who do the rankings. I find it hilarious. It's like with these recruiting writers and they'll say like, oh, I discovered this guy and this and this and that. And it's like, well, it's cool. You found this guy who you thought was pretty awesome. And they don't talk about all the misses that they have on the recruiting rankings list, right? It's like, just kind of conveniently ignore that. That's because my concern though, is that, well, what if it's not as great? To your point, is everyone looking at Sark and saying, hey, man, this is that? Because look, at the end of the day, for whatever people think Quinn is, Quinn was able to get this team to the semifinals 2 consecutive years. For whatever you think his limitations are, for whatever you think his shortcomings are, you get deep balls, whatever, pocket awareness, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. He got there 2 years ago when they had a pass defense that was horrible. And they got there this year when they had a defense that was one of the best that we've ever seen. Chad, if you don't get back to the semifinals, everybody's going to be wondering how Quinn got us there. What the hell happened here? Like, there will be like a what the F kind of moment if they don't even get back to like that version of success. And at that point, the pressure is on both of them, but it's definitely going to be on Sark because Arch is the guy. Like, he's the baby. He's the guy. He's that thing that he's been keeping in the garage for a long time, right? And that guy who brings it out on a Sunday, Chad, that sports car, that motorcycle, the boat, and just do it just once a week, which was, hey, you get into a game, we'll give Arch just a little something. Then I'm going to put him back in the garage. But now it's time to get out there on the freeway and let that thing explode. And now we're expecting to see, all right, what kind of Hemi engine you got in here? What kind of V8? What kind of 440? Like all these kind of things. Yeah. That's what you're expecting to see. And if you don't get it, people are going to be disappointed.
That is an interesting analogy. So it's like not just having that car, but it's when that car becomes your everyday car. You don't just have a Corvette. You have to take a Corvette to the grocery store. You don't just drive a Charger. You're taking a Charger to the bank.
Yes.
You're taking your grandmother needs a ride. You got to put her in the Charger and take her somewhere. That's an interesting way to look at it, but that is what it is. Yeah. Now this is your weapon moving forward, and you've got to figure it out. If you guys want to throw in super chats, we will get to them. Let's see. What is this one? This is Jay Lee back in with $5. Catch disagrees, and so do I. This team did what they did for the most part, despite Quinn and the offense.
Yeah, I think I you know what?
Catch. I like that.
You know, he said, I think, look, we clearly know where Catch stands on the Quinn Ewers thing. I think he's made that very clear where he stands as far as Quinn is concerned. I don't think it's despite of Quinn and the offense, because the offense still was able to score enough points, and Quinn still puts you in positions to win games. You know, I don't look at the Georgia loss this past season, either one of them, maybe especially not the first one. I don't look at that and say that was Quinn. Georgia's defense was badass. Sorry, they were badass. They were badass, and even though he didn't have a lot of time to prepare, they threw an Arch didn't come in there and light that world on fire. Georgia's defense was badass at that moment.
I think it's the thing that Jay and Catch and others talk about when they go down that road on where I think it's about the biggest games of the year and what Texas scored. And when you go look at those point totals, if they had been putting up 32, 35 in those games and losing, it would have been a different story. But it's, because
they lost 3 games.
Right, they did. But in those games, when you think about opportunities for the offense, how did the really bad start at home against Georgia puts them in a hole that was too deep. In the SEC title game, a bit of a slog kind of game where you should have. Well, I mean, obviously, if your kicker steps up, you win the game. We get that, but you were asking your kicker to help you win what, like a 1916 game, something like that. And then we all know where. I mean, and Ohio State, frankly, to me, is in the middle of that because you're driving to make it 21-all. And Texas Ohio State to me felt like Super Bowl 44 when the Saints won. That interception late changed the whole feel of the game. That game was really close to me, and then it ends up looking like a 2-touchdown game because it was, but it's really one play that does that.
But it's 2 plays. It's two different things. It's the 75-yard touchdown before halftime. You can't ignore that. Like that should not have happened, and that occurred after Quinn led the team down the field and they scored, right? So that happened, and now that puts them behind going into halftime. And again, Quinn gets them down to the 1. And, there was, look, we'll question the play calling to the day that we die. Like we will all be sitting there at some point, and we'll be in our late 80s, hopefully 90s for all of us. I want us to be living a long life, and we're going to be sitting there. I'll be sipping on my vodka because at that point it won't matter to me. I'm like, don't take it away. I'll be sipping there. I'm like, you know what, nurse? I remember when Texas had it 1st and goal on the 1. And I just don't know what that coach was calling. Like that, we're just going to go that. And I guess my disconnected with it is when I have the conversation, Chad, is I hear how it could have looked better, right? But at the end of the day, I go by the results. And at the end of the day, Texas was good enough to win the overwhelming majority of games that Quinn Ewers had played in, right? And so, someone said, well, he almost cost us that Texas A&M game. Okay, but he didn't. Okay, I get it, right? And so, could he have played better? Sure. But at the end of the day, Quinn did enough. Sark felt like he did enough. And by the way, Chad, if Sark really wanted to, I mean, this is where I don't get. If Sark really wanted to, if he had benched Quinn permanently for Arch, no one would have batted an eye. No one would. In fact, it would have been the easiest thing for him to do. It would have been the easiest thing because no one's going to say, oh, man, you replaced our starting quarterback with Arch Manning. Like, where is the season going to go now? Like, everyone's going to understand, like, okay, yeah, that's where you went. There's clearly a reason why Sark did that. And the reasons is that they have to make sure that he was ready. Now he's supposed to be ready now. My only question, Chad, he's got a lot of holes to fill on this offense, man. Yeah. There's a lot of holes to fill on this offense. And so I get it. I get how good Arch can be. Now yes, I've been a Quinn guy. I'm an Arch guy as well. So don't get me wrong. But man, who's he throwing the ball to? Who's his top 3 wide receivers? Who's his starting tight end? Who are the guys going to be on the offensive line? Who is going to be the running backs? Who's his kicker? Who's his kicker?
Yeah.
These are the things that I wonder as I start thinking about the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's fair. We got some chats we'll get to. If you want to throw us a super chat, we will put it right up to the front. Over 450 of you already in that Specs chat. We do appreciate it. We'll let you hear from Specs in a little bit. But right now, let's let you hear from AV Consultations. That's right, the AV Consultations New Year spot. They can get you set up with all kinds of cool screens and speakers and setups. Check all this stuff out. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been providing custom electronic systems for Central Texas for more than 36 years. And
old man, I think they all know who you are and what your company does. This is Camilla McKay. The old man believes in big fun and big ideas. He can make dreams come true, so why not dream big? I've been up in Boston, but I know the old man and all his friends and fellow radio heads have been spreading the holiday spirit here in Texas. Why should we stop there? Keep spreading the good feelings all over. Audiovisual Consultations carries all major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And you don't have to leave your house. Just like Santa, they deliver the gifts to you.
Yeah, I like that, kid. Throw a party, hang out with your friends, catch a concert.
That's all fun and good, but can we get back to the business? You can give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit our website at avconsultations.com for some cool electronics.
Oh, now you're forgetting something.
And as always, hug your kids. We only pretend to be annoyed. Watch some games with
Yeah. All right. House divided on a Wednesday. We're talking Arch and talking Sark and Arch, and the 220 days away from the game in Columbus, and your thoughts on how he will dial up the Arch Manning era, which is obviously coming very quickly. Jay, it's not on Sark. Quinn just wasn't a very good quarterback. The stats, rating, and eye test don't lie. Jay, to a degree, I know what you're saying there. I got it.
Okay. He'll finish statistically as the 3rd best quarterback in UT history, but
yeah.
I got it.
Right. Everybody, and the beauty of this thing, Anwar, on some level, again, that part of the equation is gone. It's gone. It's not about massaging all that ego, which I thought all 3 parts did it pretty well.
Yeah.
With all the social media and the crap that could have happened and all the media that follows everything, for Sark, Quinn, and Arch to pull that off the way they did, I thought it was pretty good. I'd give them an A, maybe even an A+. I can't think of something. Sark had the one little thing in that Georgia game where it's like, was it a little bit of a panic? Did it go too far? Did it go not far enough? Whatever. But as South End Zone Queen says, the hype train on Arch in Texas is going to be insane. South End Zone Queen, I keep thinking it. I keep saying it. There is nothing like this. This is the Halley's Comet of college football of my life. I'm 50 now. I can't remember anything close. Deion's son just left, right? Colorado, 2 of them, in fact. But that's not what Deion was, right? It's not exactly the same thing. We've seen kids play a lot. Big time men and women in sports and their children play. But this, Archie's grandson, Peyton and Eli's nephew, Cooper's kid, and oh, by the way, he's not Emmett's kid as a running back. He's not Barry Sanders' kid as a running back. Anwar, he's really good. He's great, in fact. He's highly rated. He's 5-star badass. He looks like that. He runs like that. He throws like that. He acts like that. All of it feels like it's come together. This is one time ever. And to your point, this is why the ultimate signature of Sark as a college head coach is about Arch Manning, because Arch Manning is going to happen to Sark once. because it's only going to happen to the universe once. And Sark's the guy who's got to figure it out.
And I mean, you're also talking about a time where we've got social media where, I mean, you get Arch all the time, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be, I mean, it will be the thing where you have the casual conversations on First Take and some of the other shows that are out there, right? They will, they will casually talk about the Cowboys and casually talk about LeBron, right? And this will be the casual, weekly Arch Manning conversation. Like, how's he doing? What's he looking like? Like, that will be, because they know that'll move the needle. That's going to move the needle. I don't even know, Chad. I was trying to think, because there's so much BS out there as far as NIL money is concerned. How much people are going to guess that he's making? Because there's going to be some obscure people that report that Arch Manning is making, I don't know, $15 million a year in NIL or $20 million a year. And it's all fabricated. It's all BS. But it's going to be like that kind of out of control, where it was out of control a year or two ago when people were falsely reporting that Arch Manning would consider going to the transfer portal. And I would get on his airwaves and say, no, he's not. Like, that's not even true. It's not even a thought process of him. But people still get fed it. And then they'd say, oh, well, we heard Arch is coming back. It's like he's never going to leave, right? And so there will be so much Arch talk, especially heading into Ohio State. It's unfortunate that, if you're the SEC next year, not 2025 or 2026, you got to put Tennessee on the schedule and you got to put Ole Miss on the schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe Florida, just for fun. You got Florida this year.
I was going to say, you check Florida off this year.
You can check Florida off. Peyton never won in the swamp. So you've got a chance to at least have one Manning story this year.
Like,
next year, you got to have two.
Anwar, you realize you're going to the swamp to watch Arch and Lagway head up.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. Of all the road games, there's other road games you might think of first, because you got to have Athens and Columbus and give them their respect. But that's wild. And Ketch and I talked about it the other day. The two best quarterbacks in the SEC, a lot of people would tell you it's those two.
Mm-hmm.
And Lagway. I can't think of anybody I would take over those two guys immediately. So it's just, South End Zone Queen, you're right. Hang on. Enjoy the ride. It will only happen once. There's only one way. I also like this chat, Anwar. Jay says, I expect a minimum 150 rating in 2025. Here's the two best things I would tell you if you're a Texas fan about Arch Manning. Numbers don't always tell the story. I get it. Here's what the numbers were, though, this year. The completion percentage is crawling up on 68. That's a good number. 65 or more. You tell me somebody's 65 or more in completion percentage, I'm liking what I hear. And as I pull up the numbers, Quinn was right at 65, but Arch is crawling up on 68. And his passer rating, like 184, 183 to 84. Yes, there's all kinds of qualifications as to why, but Anwar, I dig those numbers. If I'm a Texas fan, I like those numbers. And now it's just, obviously, it's about developing everything, but think about what your eyes have seen. You talked about some of the stuff that needs to be worked on. Maybe a little sloppiness at times with, the ball security. We saw a little bit of hold the ball a little too long, I think, sometimes with Arch. But somebody earlier said they don't think he'll run into sacks like Quinn did. I would agree. I kind of like him better in the trash based on his size. I think his feet might be a little better. Everything I see for him, I just think, man, if that you make that a little better, and you really, I mean, I just is with Arch, is Texas an 11-win team in the regular season? I think, I would start with the idea of 10. And I'm not saying you lose in Athens and you lose in Columbus, but you do have them both. Let's say he splits those. Let's say he gets one.
Okay.
If he got one of those two, and I afforded them one other slip somewhere, because we watch this season play out. You throw in an extra game in the SEC and you make it Texas or Oklahoma, it changed things for a whole lot of teams. Anwar, I was thinking about Georgia. Think about Georgia They scheduled Clemson in non-conference, smashed them. Clemson made the play. Clemson still made the playoff. Georgia played Texas twice, beat them twice. Texas still made the playoff. But the team that Georgia lost to, or one of them, Alabama, yeah, they didn't make the playoff at all. So we have to see everything play out. I think a 10-2 Texas team is going to be right there. What we learned it this year. 9-3 SEC was on the borderline, especially when you go to Norman and puke on your shoes, Bama. So if it could be 10-2 and it's only those two, what if you lost a war in Columbus and a war in Athens and he wins everything else? He wins the swamp. He beats the Aggies. He beats Arkansas. He cleans the rest of it up, but they're 10-2 on where you know that team's going to the playoff. In some form or fashion, that team is in the bracket.
Yeah, they're at the worst, they're a wild card team, right? At the very worst, you know, so, that's assuming they didn't make it to the SEC championship game for some odd reason, right?
Right. But I can't go quite as far as 11, but I'm willing to talk about a 9-10 possibility.
9 would be disappointing, I think.
I think most fans would tell you it would be, but I don't think talking about 10 is that crazy. We'll see how they build it up, like you said. I don't, anybody that wants to use don't use the word rebuild. We're 220 days away. Just remember that word's not allowed. You can reload, you can do all that. Programs like Texas don't get to say rebuild ever.
Can't say this is a building year, even though they're losing just about every. You're saying it's got to be like how Alabama was, where they had everybody going to the pros, or it has to be like Georgia when they were hot a little bit ago, and just yes, you lose guys, and then you have other guys who are ready to step up and keep it going.
Yeah. No, that's it. You got to be ready. You need the story to be about, they lost this many guys to the draft, and we're still here at the semifinal. You don't need that to be, they lost all these guys to the draft. Welcome to the Citrus Bowl. That's not, no. That is not how it works. If you're at the bowl where they pour mayonnaise on the coach, no, that's not going to work.
Those bowls definitely, that would be the ultimate of disappointment. Now, I get, again, for me, Chad, is the thing I'll be watching all year long will be, because right now everything sounds good, right? I don't know who Arch Manning's number one receiver is at this moment. Now, granted, the season just ended just a few weeks ago. So, but who is this guy? Like, who is the guy that's the number one guy? And is that person not on the roster as of yet? And maybe that's where we're looking at. Is that person not on the roster? But I need to know, like, who are the guys that he's going with? Because the year before, Sark said, I got too many receivers that don't have enough experience. And I've got to go out and I've got to get some guys who are going to be that person. And last year, and let me see if I can just find this real quick for you. Because I think this what was interesting about last year is that when you look from a transfer portal perspective, a lot of the guys were already on campus by now, just overall, right?
Yes.
But
everybody but Bolden, right?
Bolden, Bolden didn't come until till late, right? But you already had Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond already on campus by then. You had Amari Niblack on there, even though he didn't really do too much. But at least you had your dudes who were like, okay, these are going to be our guys. By the way, they also had, just so you know, by January of last year, they had Makuba, Trey Moore, Golden, Bond, Niblack, Savea, Bill Norton, and then some of these other guys came a little bit late, like Jermaine Lole came in the spring, Javion Cole and Velton Gardner. But the key guys from the transfer portal were already on campus to start winter conditioning. So what I'm curious is that going to be something that next spring we're going to see an influx of guys that could be his potential guys, or is it the guys that he's operating with now? And if it is, does that mean it's a Ryan Wingo, or does that mean it's DeAndre Moore, or any of these other guys who are potential? That's why I'm curious about, in addition to how the offensive line kind of comes along.
Jay throws in an interesting chat here. Arch will make whoever is open the most number one wide receiver. That's what he needs to say to the media, Jay. That'd be well done. Anwar,
I just, you know what? Maybe it's PTSD. And maybe I'm just a person that doesn't. I just don't want to put such high expectations on him.
I know.
And then, now we're like, what the hell happened? Like, I just want to, for me today, I'm taking a wait and see, knowing that I think eventually it's going to come around. But I am going to allow him to be a human quarterback as opposed to a Heisman Trophy winner. And I might be alone, and that's okay. You need scared friends. Scared friends are good friends. Scared friends are good. I'm the person that might say, hey, Chad, I don't know, we should jump off this bridge, man. Are you sure? Did anyone check and see if there's rocks down there? Like, is anyone look? You just going to jump? Like, I don't really know about that. It's okay. You need people like me in your life.
Yeah. And to your point, which feels realistic, and then to that chat earlier that said, how about a rating of 150 or higher? That's fairly realistic. That's just a little bit better than where Quinn was. Dial it up a little from where Quinn was. That's kind of the minimum that somebody was looking for. I don't think that's unrealistic. And then to those two receivers you mentioned, Anwar, here's the key difference. Everybody knows I dig Jonte Cook. I still hope Jonte figures it out somewhere. But the number was 8 going into last year. 8 total catches the previous year. And only 6 from the guy that was going to be his starting quarterback. But Anwar, the number this year is 68. 68 catches between Golden and Moore. 9 touchdowns between those two guys. I wonder how Sark and the coaches will look at it. How does Coach Jackson look at it? Where it's like, you know what? This is not the same. This is not, we've got a guy that didn't even get us 10 catches. We don't feel confident enough. This is, we got 2 guys that combined almost brought in 70 balls and 10 touchdowns. Let's have them take the next step. Because the first guy that popped in my head when you said, who's the guy that Arch is going to really get along with? I wouldn't be shocked if the early practice reports told us it's DeAndre Moore.
Yes.
Correct. I would not be shocked if it, and that would make me feel good as a fan because that tells you he's seeing that slot receiver very well. And that's obviously a part of the field that can help you out as a quarterback. When you get in trouble, make sure you're seeing what's available in the middle of the field. I wouldn't be surprised if Zero at least gets that opportunity to become one of his favorites, to become, a Golden type this year, even though it's a slightly different position.
Yeah, you're good. I feel like you had another super chat that came in there as well.
Okay, let me grab that. We did have one. Yeah, we did. That is Juan coming in with a $4.99. This is interesting. A war of all the interviews. What's the difference between Charlie, Tom, and Steve? And were you here with Mac too? Anwar, you were not here for Mac Brown's time.
Was not here for Mac. Nope.
There you go. All right, give us the difference.
Which does not explain, which will never explain why he blocked me on X or Twitter. Yeah. I don't understand, because I never covered him, but yet he's never blocked guys like Chip Brown and Jeff Ketchum, who basically were a thorn in his ass for his entire time. I'm just one day I'm sure I'll see Mac at practice or something at some point, because I feel like he doesn't really have much to do. And I'm sure he'll be hanging around practice. I'm going to ask him one day.
Yeah. Do you think maybe he saw the show with you and Brian Jones and he's just a little nervous about all those divorces?
Potentially, but I feel like him and Sally are in a good place. So I feel like he's good.
Are there married people out there that believe that? Like if they have friends that have gotten divorces, we can't have Bill over. Bill's had a divorce. Let's just Bill can't be around.
It all depends on how it happened. If the divorce happened because Bill was like cheating on his wife, then Bill can't come over because now Bill's an bad influence. If the divorce just happened because Bill's an a-hole, then that's, Bill can come to the house. But it can't be like, hey, so honey, you're not going to guess what Bill told me in his wild story. His wife came home early, and then all of a sudden, no.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Hey, Bill can come to Thanksgiving, but we're going to hook him up to a dolly like Hannibal Lecter. Make sure you tie him up, put a mask on him. Can't talk to anybody.
The difference between, interviews. So you must know the interview difference between Charlie, Tom, and Steve.
There you go. Yeah. Any big differences?
Charlie like Charlie was definitely funny at times, but sometimes he was a little confusing. And then sometimes Charlie would say things that he didn't want to say, shouldn't say, like he should have never said, even though it was really an interview when he said like the team's not going to compete for a national championship and things like that. Like sometimes you're like, Charlie, like, I don't know. So sometimes Charlie said some stuff that he probably should not have said. He should have been a little bit more polished as far as interview stuff is concerned, but really, really good guy, really nice guy. Tom was interesting because I think Tom was always wanted to be kind of the smart guy. I think he was standoffish with the media to start off with. He got better at his last year. I think he was, his friendlier, but I think that ship had sailed as far as that is concerned. I'm trying to think of not too many interviews. The thing is, Tom is just, he did too many like silly things, where people headbutting players. People are like, what the hell are you doing? Coming off the bus with a baseball bat,
Yeah, he had a few conduct unbecoming the Texas head coach.
Yeah, the middle finger to the LHN camera. I think that was probably Tom's bigger thing than it was from an interview perspective. Steve, he seems to be pretty transparent except for injuries. Like injuries, I'm whatever. But everything else, when you ask him, I feel like he gives some good questions. Now, look, he does get pissy. Tom would get pissy as well. So he's a head coach. It doesn't bother me because I did the NFL for years. So that's just, I don't know, you just call that Wednesday interview session. That's just a normal thing for me. Other people kind of get like thrown off by it. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah. But I think when Steve has a question that he really likes, I think he gives you like a just knock it out the park kind of answers. And I feel like when he just opens up to certain things, I feel like that I feel like it's badass as far as when there's a question that he really likes that he's intrigued by.
Juan, we appreciate that. $4.99. If y'all want to super chat us,
another one too. There was another one.
You can get there, and we did have one more. S. Roan threw us a 5 spot as well. I don't understand the apprehension. There are no dominant teams in 2025. A lot of teams are losing players. I'm not scared of any teams in the schedule. S. Roan, I would not tell you to be afraid of anybody on your schedule. I would look forward to every game with a fork, knife, and bib around my neck if I was a Texas fan. What the hell you got to be scared of? I mean, eat this season up like it's lobster with liquid butter. It's going to happen one time in the history of recorded time. You get Arch Manning. Every other fan base that will tell you they don't want him, they're all lying. All of them. Anwar, Florida should trade for him. I'm sorry. They should.
Yeah.
I'd send Lagway to Austin right now if I'm Billy Napier. If I could do it. Anybody in the SEC. I'd take Arch tomorrow. I would drive there myself. I would help him pack. You get to say you took him from Texas, and you get whatever you're about to get.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you should be, by the way, Esron, you shouldn't be scared of anybody, right? So, there's not a team I look at on the schedule and say, well, Texas can't really compete with that team, right? I would just, there's going to be tough. There's going to be games on the schedule that are going to be tougher than we anticipate. I mean, we all know that the schedule you look at in January, whatever the teams are that you think they're going to be, some are going to be better than you expect. Others will be worse than you expect. It just that's going to happen. Like Vanderbilt had a short run just for the first half of the season. Thank God they got to 6 because then they couldn't win anything else, right? But they had like a short little run, but they were better than most people expected them to be. But to his point, though, there's so much parity in college football now because of the portal, because guys get a chance to move around and go to different places.
Yeah.
That's why you can see, Kentucky was competitive with Georgia for a game that probably should have won. I don't, it's kind of crazy to think that, but that was a 13-12 game. We saw Alabama.
Yeah. Was that in Lexington, Anwar? Was that roadie for Georgia that they got caught up in that game?
I don't remember. I can't. You got to look that up.
Yeah.
Look that up for me.
I would have to look. Let me look that one up. But that's like,
Look that up. I mean, we know Alabama lost 2 games. They lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Oklahoma. I think it was Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. Am I correct on that one?
I believe.
Chad?
Yep. I think that is, and that was in Oxford. I think they lost at home to Kentucky. So,
I mean, to your point, yeah, there's so much parity in college football that, yeah, if you're a Texas fan, you should look at it and say, hell yeah, we can compete with anybody. And yeah, we're going to have losses, but we're going to reload. So you're not wrong with it, Ron. Sometimes I'm just a little nervous to just make that declaration here in January, but I might be with you by the time July and August rolls around.
Yeah. Anwar, here's how weird it was in Lexington last year. So Kentucky got busted up by South Carolina 31-6. Remember when everybody thought everybody freaked out on that one? And by the way, eventually South Carolina did look really good. But the Georgia game, Georgia at home, they lose by 1. They lost by 7 to Vanderbilt at home, 14 to Auburn, and the others were a little bit more blowouts. But that 1 point Georgia game was at home for Kentucky. Texas has got to go there this year. So we'll see when you get to that point. But Ron, thank you for the
and then, Ohio State wins the national championship, but they lose to Michigan, at the end of the season, right? That's a team that Texas had defeated. So it's like, to his point, there's a coin toss. And a good point for Texas, I think, is that, we haven't seen them lose games, especially the last 2 years, Chad. I got to go back and look. They haven't lost games that they were expected to win. Like when Texas is pretty much expected to win, I mean, let's see, the previous year they lost to Oklahoma and they lost to Washington, right? So those are the only losses. They lost to Georgia twice, and then they've lost the final game, obviously, to Ohio State. So Texas isn't losing against the Kentuckys of the world where you're like, what the hell just happened here? They're not losing against a Mississippi State, which, by the way, gave Georgia a tough contest. Damn it, Georgia, why didn't you just get up for Texas and everybody else you just sit down for? It's just the craziest thing about Georgia. Everybody else kind of has those hiccups. Texas has been that team, though, when that team that they should beat is on their schedule, they beat them.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. If you have a super chat, throw it our way. We'll get a little buy or sell in before the show is done. Also, always love to thank our great partners around here. Let me talk a little sinus and snoring specialist. I told y'all that I put a post on orangebloods.com about sinus and snoring a little bit. And then I got into my favorite professional wrestling matches of all time because Ketch wanted to see that. But I wanted to read y'all a comment that came in. Somebody just asked the simple question, does balloon sinuplasty cure sleep apnea? I put a video of Dr. Slaughter talking about the balloon sinuplasty procedure, which I had done in this post. And I sent it to their office, and here's what they sent back. Quote, a healthy nose and sinuses is the first step to cure your sleep apnea. If the nose and sinuses aren't open and healthy, then nothing to treat the sleep apnea will be effective or well tolerated. Additional treatments may be needed as well on a case-by-case basis, but that first step is critical. And I thought that really said it all because it does speak to my situation. The balloon sinuplasty procedure, it wasn't the end of my puzzle, if you will, but it was the huge first step because without that, nothing else was going to react the same way. Nothing else was going to work the same way. Then it was about getting rid of my allergies for good. There was some other things that were done. I also wear a dental appliance at night. That was the very last step to get those numbers the way that we wanted them to be. So check them out. Sinus and snoring specialist. Definitely go check out that post if you like. There've been some interesting comments from people that have been thinking about it for themselves. They've been snoring, or their wife or husband snores and they've been thinking about it. If you've been thinking about it, this is your year to do it. 601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. Sinus and snoring specialists feel clear, rested, and healthy. I did it back in 2017, and I have never regretted it. Thanks to Sinus and Snoring for being a great partner, and thanks to all of y'all who let them know that you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. And again, if you want to throw us a super chat, we can take that. Although one of our favorites, South End Zone Queen, did throw this one in for free earlier. I think Arch is on the same pedestal, but the blame will fall on Sark if it's happening to a second quarterback or a Manning, LOL, right or wrong. Arch has been loyal, and he will get grace. He the golden boy. Yeah. Essentially South End Zone Queen. I think that's how it's going to start. And Anwar, you tell me if I'm wrong. Look, if he throws 4 obvious pick sixes in Columbus and it's 28-0 at the half, that's going to be on Arch. I mean, there are certain things that, we're going to have to admit it's on 16. But I just think that when mistakes start to happen early, I think fans are going to start to look at Sark's part of it. And that's where they'll want to blame first before they get to Arch. I just think they're looking so forward to this. And I think he's their guy in such a special way that I just think, again, this is where Sark's got to figure this out. He was trusted last year, Anwar, to deal with a weird little triangle. Now this is a straight line. How do you deal with this? And how do you dial up a once-in-a-lifetime talent?
Yeah, I mean, he again, it's demanding thing. It's if it was just Trey Owens, right? No disrespect to you, Trey, but if Trey Owens was going to be the starter going into the season, no one would be saying like, "Hey, man, do or die now, Sark." Everyone would say, "Hey, man, let's see what happens with Trey. Like, hopefully, all goes well." But it's that you can't do that with him. You can't do that with when his uncles are, everywhere to be found. His uncles are basically Hall of Fame players. Everybody's Hall of Fame players. And Cooper, poor guy, Cooper was a hell of an athlete when he played, man. Everyone wants to know, like, well, why is Art so athletic? Because his dad's a freaking athlete. His dad was fast. His dad was a freaking SEC receiver. Like, Cooper's no joke, he just unfortunately doesn't get remembered the way that he should. So there will be that thing. And look, Texas fans have had to patiently wait. They had to wait 2 years for him. A lot of people wanted to see him this year. So yeah, if he has Arch clicking on all cylinders, now Arch needs to be a guy that's sitting in New York at the end of the year. Like that's what the expectation is. If he's not, because if Arch is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, he's a Heisman contender. I mean, name recognition alone, he's a Heisman contender. Top 2 Heisman contender. Anything less than that, and everyone's going to say, "Hey, Sark, man, what's going on?" And so now that's when people will start looking at the play calling, Chad. And that's where if Texas in the third quarter is unable to score points or the offense looks a certain way, they're going to say that's on Sark. If all of a sudden the quarterback is getting sacked too much, they're going to say, you know what, now that's on Sark, right? If all of a sudden the offense is kind of going into that lull that we've seen, and then hopefully you're hoping that it wakes up in the fourth quarter, people are going to say that's on Sark, offensive condition, because now all of a sudden it's kind of like, the one time I've ever used this thing in math past high school, it's a common denominator in every equation.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's kind of like, Brian Jones and I can talk about getting divorced, but at some point, the common denominator in every equation is Brian Jones and Anwar. Like, at some point, we got to say, okay, hey, what's up with me? Because it's me in different situations, right? But it's the same. I use that as a joke to make it kind of reality. Sark will be the common denominator in both the equations as relates to Quinn and it relates to Arch. And if it looks similar, people are going to say, okay, wait. Now it's not the quarterback, it's on the coach. And that's what people the people will point the finger there.
I think that's an interesting point. Jay, I'm glad you told me I missed it. I did miss it. $5 super chat from earlier. Thank you for throwing it in there. Big 5 games will be tough. 3-2 in those would be great. Then you hope at the very worst you drop one outside of those, which would be 9-3. Let me see if I can guess this one, Anwar. So if Jay's saying Big 5, we know Columbus and Athens are 2 of those. I'm assuming the other 3 for him would be Florida, Arkansas, A&M?
No, it's got to be Oklahoma.
Florida, Oklahoma, A&M.
A&M, right?
Florida, Oklahoma, A&M. Jay, is that where you're headed there?
It has to be. That's got to be because A&M. You got to get the rivalry games.
Sure.
I mean, Arkansas is back here this year, right? If I'm, so
it is.
So
that finish. Whew.
Yeah.
You're at Georgia, Arkansas at home, A&M at home. No breaks, no buys, no easy games. Whatever Arkansas is going to give you, you just played Georgia. Whatever the Aggies are going to bring to Austin, you will have just played the Bulldogs and the Hogs back to back.
Yeah.
So the physicality of the end is interesting to me.
I mean, first of all, I don't love the schedule. I don't know. We've never really talked about it, Chad. I don't love the schedule at all because I'm cool with the month of September. There's a couple of things I don't like. I'm cool with the month of September, I guess, to a certain degree, because no matter what happens against Ohio State, you'll win the next 3. So that part is good. I hate that they're away from DKR all of the month of October.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I don't ever recall that for any team. I'm sure it's happened, but that's rare to me. That feels just rare.
The entire month of October, they're at Florida. Of course, I mean, Dallas is a neutral game when they play against Oklahoma, but it's away, from your DKR, at Kentucky, at Mississippi State. That's just a lot of traveling. You get the Halloween week off, you get Vanderbilt. And then, like you said, then you close it out. And you know what? There's something to be said to a certain degree. And you know this, Chad. SEC teams love, especially before rivalry week, that's when they schedule that soft team to kind of give them that tune-up to get everything going.
Or a bye.
The
SEC has shown us that. Bama, LSU, last year, Texas, OU. There's certain games where they'll throw that bye. Here's the other thing that would bother me if I'm Texas, Anwar. Describe that first bye to people. Where does it occur? Say the game before and after the first bye.
Well, the first bye is so after San Jose. So it looks like UTEP is the first bye. So that's September the 20th is the first bye.
What's right after it? What's the next game after the first bye?
Sam Houston State.
Exactly. It's bye. You're not preparing for some big dog game. You're putting your bye is the meat of a sandwich that's just so average. Like why? Yeah. You're going to lose. The nation will forget about Texas for sure, unless, something wacky happens and those teams actually give you a game. That's a weird way to do it. Versus last year, what we saw was you're getting your first bye with an opportunity to get ready for a gauntlet for the Oklahoma, Georgia back-to-back. So it is a weird schedule.
And I hate the other thing I hate about it too, Chad, is that typically Texas will get that kind of the softer team in week 1 before that non-conference game in week 2. And this is one of the years that they're opening up with the tough team in week 1 with no way to just to work on things and prep on things or anything like that. They're opening up with the tough team. And again, Ohio State has to do the same thing as well. So, but I'm just saying, I just don't love the schedule and how it was made. If I had the magic wand, I would have made it a little bit differently for both guys. But like I said, I could say, well, it sucks for Texas. I'm sure Ohio State feels the same way. We got to open up against Texas. That's not a great way to have your celebration at home and raise the banner and then have to play, Texas, a semifinalist team in week 1 as well. I'm sure they don't love it.
Yeah, and it'll be weird for the loser of that game too, because the loser of that game will have to figure some things out against nobodies. Yeah. Against teams they're supposed to beat and teams they'll probably beat, and you're not going to learn much. Texas may not really learn anything about, well, did you learn your lessons in Columbus? They may not find out until the Swamp. And that's a weird thing to do. You're going to come off that bye, you're going to play Sam Houston State, and then you're going to Florida. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, okay, things just ratcheted up. But you might be, I don't know, maybe well rested, maybe pretty healthy. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you, Jay, for that super chat. Thanks to all of you for jumping into that Specs chat. Over 650 of you. Here's Lisa with a Specs reminder.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
Old fashioned. You need some whiskey. You going to Specs pretty soon? Are you out? Are you stocked up?
Well, I had a birthday party at the end of December, right before I had left. So it was like on that Friday, and I think I left on that Sunday. So I think I had a birthday party on the 27th. So and I had it in my house. A lot of people bought me a lot of alcohol.
Nice.
A lot of alcohol. So I'm good on that, but I'm out of vodka.
I'm out of
vodka. So I'll be at Specs today to stock up because I got to go out of town for a soccer tournament for my son, and I'll come back in on Sunday. And Texas and these damn blue laws. So if I don't have my vodka before Sunday, I'm screwed. Unless someone's got some sort of hidden hookup somewhere. So I have to get it today before I head out of town.
There you go. All right. We got some buy or sell coming up here in just a second. Before we do that, another reminder for you about one of our great partners. You see Texas Card House each and every day here on House Divided, and Texas Card House has brought back the beauty of online poker. Get to hijackpoker.com today. Put that app on any device you want, and then make sure you use that code. You got till the end of the month to use the code OB20 for $20 in free play. Jeff Ketchum is there often. I'm sure he's not there today because, he's working today trying to figure out, OB stuff. I'm sure he's not at Hijack Poker. This is for all the online poker players in the state of Texas. If you haven't tried it out yet, give it a shot with Hijack Poker. All right, Anwar, you ready for a little buy or sell?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
You want to go first or second?
I'm going to go second.
All righty. Well, that means we'll start here. Buy or sell number one, Anwar. Next year, I'll give you Ohio State or Texas to win it all, or the field, and you'll take the field.
Ooh.
These two are tied right now for everybody's pick to be the national champs. I'll give you one of those two or the field. You'll take the field.
I'd sell on that one.
Okay.
It's a great question, right? But my issue is I can't right now think of the team that I would like better than either one of those teams. It's so because I can't think of, I'm not going to be sold on Georgia with that quarterback yet. Mm-hmm. I'm not as high on Alabama's catches. I think their good years are past them. I think their championship years are past them. They'll have good years. I think the championship years are past them. Ole Miss, what does that look like coming back? And I start thinking about the other programs in the country. I don't know if there's a Big 12 program that's going to be out there that does it. So yeah, no, I would sell on it right now. I'll take either one of those two at the moment.
Yeah, I saw the last time the favorite this far out actually won the title was Bama in 2017. So we'll see if Ohio State or Texas can stick to that one. Anwar, buy or sell number two. Your Wednesday gut for Super Bowl 59 is Philly and Buffalo.
I think I'll sell on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. The issue that I have at this moment, I'm just kind of looking up something real quick, is that I can't bet against Mahomes.
Yeah. Okay.
I just can't. Like this guy, I don't know what it is. It's just what he does. This is his time of year when he just does what he does. And I mean, I like Buffalo. I like everything they've done, but there's just something about Mahomes. Like even if it doesn't look pretty at times for that offense, and even if it's not connecting somehow, some way, even if he gets hurt, Chad, this guy can freaking have a high ankle sprain, be out there on one leg, and still find a way to do it. Like something about him, he's got this magic that's just really hard to explain. So no, I'll sell on that one.
Anwar, you know what? I never thought about this before till you just said it. But you know what his durability reminds me of sometimes is McNair. Steve McNair, you could drop a truck on that guy in practice and he would find a way to play. He could not practice at all, but find a way to play and still be effective. It's got that feel to me where it's like, man, he's just going to play. It doesn't matter what happens. By the way, wild stat on the Bills, 21 straight games where they haven't lost the turnover battle. That is a crazy stat to me.
That's wild.
Mind for Sunday. All right, Anwar, let's go to the hardwood. Buy or sell number 3. You think Texas hoops will find their way into the tournament?
I'll buy it. I mean, the way Ketch has outlined it, that you could still have a losing record, conference record, but still be able to make it to the tournament. I think they'll make it into the tournament. They'll be lower seed, probably lose in the first round. It's probably it's kind of where it's at. They'll win a couple of games here or there, but I think they'll be good enough to get in, just not good enough to do much damage once they make it.
Got the win against Missouri last night. By the way, 2 monster games coming to Moody Center. The women's game against Tennessee on Thursday, it's been moved to 7 o'clock. So if you were headed out there, it was at 8. They're moving it back. There's weather stuff for another big game. So they've adjusted that. It's on ESPN, 7 o'clock Thursday. And then the men, of course, host A&M Saturday, 1:30. ESPN 2, if you want to get out to the Moody Center and support your Longhorns. 2 huge games coming up on the basketball side. All right, Anwar, here we go. Buy or sell number 4, 2-time Super Bowl champ Lester Hayes is 70 years old today. You can tell me where he went to college.
Sell.
Really? Okay.
No, tell me where you went to college.
Lester Hayes was a fighting Texas Aggie at Texas A&M back in the day. Early, 73-ish, I guess is when he was. I didn't remember him at A&M. My dad had to tell me stories about Lester in college. I remember him as a Raider first. And my dad would take the time of, hey, he went to A&M. And I remember that was one of the first guys I remember where it's like, oh, he went to the school. That's cool.
Poor guy, had really horrible beginnings at A&M. It's good for him to overcome it and make something of himself.
Hey, you know what? How dare you? And it's a good place to be a lockdown corner back in the day, that old Southwest Conference. Not a lot of passes coming your way.
Yeah, I bet. Easy to lock down when he's only throwing it 10 times a game.
You just needed a small lock to lock it down. Lester was a beast, though. Happy birthday to Lester. And finally, Anwar, how about this birthday? Buy or sell number 5. Diane Lane is 60 years old today. Prime on prime. Diane Lane, hotter than Cameron Diaz.
Now?
This is prime, whatever the prime is for you. Prime on prime. So this is an interesting one. It's 2 different kinds of white hotness. Because maybe you go Cameron Diaz from The Mask as the hottest Cameron Diaz. But Diane Lane is fine wine. Just keeps getting better with age. So her prime might have been I don't know, yesterday. I mean, I don't know. It might have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
The thing about Cameron Diaz for me is that she has a really pretty smile.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she just got an endearing smile. When you just see her, you're like, oh, yeah, she looks like she might be cool to talk to. So I'm going to sell on that. I'm going to go with Diaz. I'm going to go with that gorgeous smile of hers. That's a smile that if you're sitting and having dinner with her and she gives you that smile, you're melting, man. You're melting. You're that person that's walking down the street and the dude wants to sell you that damn flower. It's like, hey, sir, you want to get this for your lady? You're like,
yeah, you got to get
I'll
it.
probably go ahead and buy this stupid ass flower from you. And you would probably do that for her. So yeah.
Okay. It's a good call. By the way, Cameron's going to be on the Graham Norton show this week. I saw that. And then also, what is the white equivalent, Anwar, of black don't crack? Because Diane Lane is that.
She does. I looked her up. She's definitely done good. Does Dolly count, or are we discounting the surgeries?
See, to me, that's more of a surgical issue. I love me some Dolly Parton. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if we can. Yeah, that's a little different argument than Diane Lane.
It doesn't crack if you go to surgery, right?
I don't know what a good one. Yeah, I don't know how to say aged white is all right. I have no idea. I don't know what it is. Happy birthday.
Has she had surgeries?
Diane Lane?
No, Martha Stewart.
Ooh, Martha. I don't know.
She's aged really well. I think.
Has nothing major. Nothing I feel like. I'm sure she's had a little work done, but nothing that feels like a Dolly Parton type or something like that. All right, Anwar. That's my 5. What do you got?
Okay, cool. So speaking of black, all of my stuff here, since we had MLK Day, all my questions are black people questions for you, Chad.
Fair enough.
All right, buy or sell number 1. Chad, you know how to do the electric slide, Cupid shuffle, or the cha-cha slide.
This is a very interesting wording. Know how to do. I mean, I gotta sell. Have I been present when these 3 dances have been done? Yes. I mean, I could fake at least 2 of them, but do I actually know how to do them? And have I actually participated? No.
Yeah,
No.
Let's say the DJ's playing the song and you're the only person on the dance floor.
Is the cha-cha slide the slide to the left?
Yes.
Left foot one stomp. Boom. Boom. Right foot left stomp.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. That one?
Yeah.
That's the cha-cha. Okay. That's one I might have been on the
down, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance.
I believe my wife and daughter have dragged me through a cha-cha slide. So I'll do a slight buy on that one. Yes. I believe they have.
All right. Buy or sell number 2. Chad, Martin Luther King's birth name is actually Michael.
Ooh, I like this. Martin Luther King trivia. Martin Luther King's birth name is Michael. Man, I don't recall that in the books I've read about MLK. I'm going to sell and say that's not true.
You should have bought it.
It's Michael?
He was born as Michael, and it changed it later to Martin Luther King.
How about that?
How about that for some trivia? But he actually was born as Michael.
All right.
Luther King.
Fair enough.
Learn something new. All right.
That.
Look, here we go. All right. Black people stuff. Number 3. Here you go. Here's some easy ones for you. Megan Good greater than Beyonce.
Let's see if you just phrase it that way. I'm gonna take it like it's presented. That has to be a sell. Has to be a sell. If you'd presented it as a straight up hotter than, it might be a discussion. A greater than,
hotter
no.
than.
That's a sell. Okay.
Well, yeah, because it's not like Megan Good really makes music.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just the overall impact is the way I interpreted that one as well. So if you're just going straight up hotter than, boy, they're both so impressive in their own way. It's all about this. To me, this is one of those. There's not a wrong answer.
Not a wrong answer.
But I'll go back to your comment on Diaz and a smile. There is something that happens when Beyonce flashes that smile. I'm going to sell and take Beyonce. Megan Good's incredible. Do not misunderstand. If it's about hot poutiness, that hot pouty face of Megan Good, that's hard to beat. But I'm a smile guy. And when Beyonce smiles, the whole world changes for me. So I'll sell.
Buy or sell number 4. Billy D. Williams made you want to drink a Colt 45 as a kid.
Hell yeah. Buy. And the label and the commercials. They threw the bull in the commercial. He's talking. And then once I guess it would be once Empire Strikes Back had hit, Empire and Jedi. I'm a Star Wars nerd. Yeah. So then I realized, wait, Lando's trying to sell me a beer? Let's go. I'm in. Yes, I wanted to try a Colt 40. And then the bottle, too. The bottle had a great shape to it. The Colt 45 marketing was excellent. Yes, I'm sure they sold a ton thanks to Billy D.
Can you still remember the catchphrase from the commercial?
Oh, hang on.
I'm gonna see.
Okay, hang on. Colt 45. It's like something about.
It's okay if you don't remember. But I think I remember it.
It's something with the word cool. Is as cool as you want to be, or as cool.
I think it was Colt 45. It gets you every time.
It gets you every time. I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Colt 45.
That sounds familiar.
It gets you every time.
Gets you every time. Yeah. I can now that you say it, I can hear him say
it. By the way, have you ever drank it? Did you ever drink the malt liquor?
Yes. Yeah. I've definitely had a Colt 45 along the way.
It's pretty damn nasty.
It's not the greatest beer that ever existed.
It's not. That Old English, all those malt liquors, like at the end of the day, God, those beers didn't taste good though.
Yeah, the one that we would hit during the college day, was it Mickey's? That can be considered a malt liquor. You ever had Mickey's? Like in a big 40? Big 40, that was, whew, yeah, you're drinking to drink at that point.
He said, Mike Torres says it works every time.
It works every time.
Works every time, my beer. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Mike might be right, because Billy D was always trying to set up. You got this feeling like he's trying to set up a romantic situation.
Yeah.
And Colt 45 was the way to do that. So it works every time. You can see that. Yeah, that's it.
Last one, and you can take it however you want to take it. Last one. Eddie Murphy greater than Chris Rock.
Oh, this is a great one. There's a lot.
There's a lot of layers to it.
There really is. There's a lot going on there.
There's comedy, there's movies, there's cartoons.
Yeah. I could get real super nerdy and just talk about like as a stand-up comic and longevity. That I would give the advantage to Chris, but this is a buy for me. When you're taking everything that Eddie has been a part of, the contributions, and whatever Chris Rock ever became as a stand-up comic, and I do think he's one of the best, the peak of it was Eddie. Like, nobody ever took stand-up comedy to the spot Eddie did. I don't know that anybody's ever done it better since, in terms of being a rock star and a comic at the same time. So I'll take Eddie. I'll buy. There have been some disappointing movies along the way.
Yeah,
but I'm still going to go with Eddie.
And here's another thing that works on Eddie's behalf here, Chad.
Yeah.
How about singing career?
Oh, that's true. There was My Girl Wants to Party All the Time, and Chris Rock didn't have that.
He did not have a singing career. So if you're looking for any tiebreakers, which you didn't need one, having a singing career definitely is something to hang your hat on.
Anwar, I'm going to tell you, I probably had to see that video 5 times before I actually believed it was Eddie Murphy. I doubted it as a kid, because I'm like, he's a comedian. He's a funny guy. This is a joke. He's lip syncing. There's no way Eddie is actually singing. And then you come to find out, no, that's Eddie. He's in the studio. And
it wasn't actually a bad song.
He did it. It was catchy as hell. Oh my God. Just a 80s candy song, if there ever was one. Earworm, just a perfect. It was just, you could feel that everyone in the studio at that one moment was so ripped on cocaine. It was out of control. Like, everybody, this is a good track, right? Yeah, man. This is awesome. How long have y'all been up? Since last month. We've been here a month. We just got it done today.
I think the music video was him recording the song. That's all the video really was.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great part.
That was the beauty of the 80s, Anwar. You could have the craziest concept ever that involved lights and apocalyptic, like costumes, or you just go, well, what if we just recorded him recording it? And that's the video. Sure. What if we do them in a tour bus? Check. What if we do them just on stage at a random show and put a bunch of montage clips? Sure. Let's do that. Yeah. There was never a wrong answer in the 80s for whatever video you wanted to make.
So
they
true.
Just green-lighted all of them because they needed the spot.
Yes.
Like they needed the video so bad. It was like, well, what if a dude's head comes out of a bowl of beans? What if we have a big pot of beans and his face just comes out of the beans? They greenlit that one.
There was a lot of cocaine back then.
Oh,
You're
dude.
right.
So much cocaine. So much coke.
So much cocaine.
It was the engine of MTV. There's no way that's not true. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about a little bit of a different effect that you can get, and that's the effect of Rogue Shop. A little more mellow, a lot more mellow, actually, we would hope. Legal CBD, THC, and more. Texas home. Get on out there. Catch always talks about the great chat function that they've got. They're always paying attention on the chat. They'll help you out. They'll answer questions. You've heard all the guys talking about Rogue Shop and the gummies and the cartridges and the salve. And Catch was talking about the salve earlier. Anwar, you've done the salve, right? From
I used man. If I had recovered from my broken pinky toe, which has taken forever, and but finally I got some extra treatment on it, so I'm actually doing good now. But prior to that, I put the salve just on that thing. worked wonders. And it's funny, when I went to the doctor, the orthopedic specialist, and I said, what do you use to manage a pain? And I said, well, I use the salve from a Rogue Shop. They go, oh yeah, CBD stuff. Oh, that's great for the pain. So they even co-signed on it.
Very cool. There you go. Check out Rogue Shop for that kind of stuff or so much more. One of the most thorough websites you will ever see, rogueshop.com. Anwar, anything else you want to hit before we
Nope, I'm already 5 minutes over my time, so I got to bounce.
Gotta go. Yeah, he's got to go. Thank you for giving me the time today. And thank all y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Football with Friends coming up at 6. We got an Outsiders for you tonight. We'll pick those NFL championship games. And Anwar, old-fashioned tomorrow at 9, or you're...
Tomorrow morning. I got one last show of the week.
That's right. One last show. For the old-fashioned tomorrow at 9, and then Anwar's got a little trip he's going to take. He'll tell you about that, I'm sure, and probably maybe he already has. Or maybe it's a secret, and I just let it out of the bag.
Yeah, and I'll tell everybody about it tomorrow.
Good. There we go. All right. Thank y'all for jumping in. We'll be back tomorrow at noon, and who knows? Maybe even Jeff Ketchum will show up.
Maybe.
Right.